Hey everybody, this is episode 2 of the Dueling Banjos Sportscast. Once again, I'm Chris.
I'm Josh.
And hope you like it. We just added a little bit of intro music to the beginning of the podcast. Just give you a little something to listen to other than our voices for the next, hour and a half, something like that.
Alright, Chris, I know you're a big baseball fan, so I know opening week was pretty exciting for you. Tell me what your highlights are.
Well, there was some really good games going on all around the league. We got to see the home opening days for 30-plus teams. It's such a great time for baseball. Wins and losses, not that big of a deal this time of year. It's the beginning of the season, so we just like to see everybody getting out, opening up that first couple games of spring and really getting the season started. One thing I did want to point out and maybe get your comments on is A-Rod did hit his first home run already.
Alright, so my take on this is like just about every sport where, you got a guy that gets in trouble, does some wrong, and, it's easy to blast him, easy to call him out on it. But at the end of the day, are you going to quit watching your team over it? Are you going to quit watching the sport because of it? So to me, if the Yankees didn't find a way to get rid of A-Rod, and he's still there, he might as well succeed. So to me, it's kind of exciting to see him get back onto it. And it helps knowing that the Yankees owe him a ton of money if he gets one more home run already. So to me, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, I was actually okay with him coming back, especially, with everything that's gone on with him, I still like a good old-fashioned player who's going to come back and throw it in your face, as it were, and do what you don't think that they can. I always respect that just a little bit.
Yeah, kind of a question I had in my head, what if Jeter was in the same spot? Let's say Jeets got caught, steroid era, tested positive a couple times, that came out, and he got dinged kind of like A-Rod did. What would people's thoughts be if Jeter was that guy?
Oh, that's a tough question because he didn't have those problems. He was the prototypical baseball player that everyone could look up to because he was so clean. So it's kind of hard for me to think of him that way. But if I did have to, I think everybody would root for him just the same. You'd have your haters and people who wouldn't want to see him succeed, but ultimately he was that guy who was going to. So he would be right there up on my list of people who right out there throwing it in your face.
Yeah, and I think opening day, opening week of baseball signifies a new beginning for a lot of things. It's early spring, and me and you are big outdoors guys, so we like to get out and fish. So for us, that's part of it. But opening day is all about a new chance, a new beginning, a long stretch towards the end of the year. And I think A-Rod coming back the way he did embodies that a lot.
That's a very well put statement right there. Everything is a lot more hopeful in the spring. You got the sun staying out late. You got baseball. You got green grass. Like you said, we get to get out and fish a little bit. And there's just nothing better than getting out and having a cold beer on a hot day, watching a little baseball. And if Rodriguez is going to be there, then I'm happy to root for him.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the other things going on. Let's talk about some of the home openers you really like to listen to, like to enjoy.
Well, I being from Colorado, I definitely had a lot to say about the Rockies, but we'll get into that a little bit later. I did like that the Cardinals lost at least one game out there in Chicago. Granted, they did get rained out for one game, or the weather was just too cold to play. But the Cardinals lost. That's always a plus for me.
You know what's funny about that is you hate the Cardinals so much that you're willing to follow them day to day to know what's going on with them.
I know, it's really backwards, but I hate them. But speaking of hate and love, whichever way you want to look at it, Next thing we want to talk about is a little bit of football. We got the draft coming up here pretty soon, April 30th. And we were doing a little research on the mock draft that they have going on, and right now they've got Jameis Winston, number 1, Marcus Mariota, number 2, Dante Fowler, defensive end out of Florida, number 3, Leonard Williams, defensive tackle out of USC, going 4th, and Vic Beasley, outside linebacker from Clemson, going 5th. What do you got to say?
Mock drafts are kind of fun. And they're kind of fun to look at to see what these experts think of. Something that kind of came out today was Jameis Winston's own agent saying that he was ready to play quarterback in the NFL on the field, but wasn't ready to be a quarterback in the NFL off the field. And I thought that was kind of an interesting statement. First of all, it's time to get a new agent. I mean,
so that's probably true.
I mean, you have a lot of money on the table. That's what an agent's there for, is to get you paid, right? So it's going to be interesting to see if that comment means anything to the Buccaneers, because I think that's the general consensus is the Bucs want to go with Winston. Lovie Smith is known for being a second chance guy, hanging out there with Tony Dungy and guys like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that's handled by the Buccaneers. The other thing I thought was kind of interesting was a bunch of these mock drafts, when you look at them, have Mariota falling all the way to 12, and some of them even a little bit further. I don't know if those ones that haven't passed 12 are legit or not, but it's kind of fun to see that.
Well, it seemed during the week that Mariota was getting a lot less coverage than Winston, and maybe his stock has definitely fallen over the last week and a half. I'm not really sure that means anything as far as how he's actually going to fall in the draft, because I think there's a good chance with the publicity they got that Winston and Mariota are definitely going 1 and 2. As for the other players, it's kind of hard to say. There's going to be a lot of trading going on, a lot of moving around with teams. You know it's going to happen. It happens every year. So mock drafts are what they are, but I just don't know that they're going to be giving us a good picture of how things are going to end up.
Yeah, definitely. And, we'll get into the NFL draft a little bit harder next week, and we'll have a big segment of that. I wanted to ask you, speaking of falling, what do you think about what's going on at the Masters right now? Is Spieth going to go wire to wire, or is he going to drop down that leaderboard?
He's playing so good. The best, 3 rounds of golf that the Masters has seen in years, since '97, I think, when Tiger did it. I think he has the ability to do it. It's only his second Masters, so he's gonna have those butterflies, and he's not gonna have the veteran qualities that let you hang on. But he's playing so good, it's gonna be hard for him to drop.
Yeah, I think that's kind of interesting. You could bring up the fact that he's not a seasoned vet like some of these guys that are behind him on the leaderboard. And I think that's going to be fun to watch Spieth, see how he handles himself. Is his game so good right now? Even being the young guy that he is with some of the inexperience he has compared to the other guys behind him, is his game so good that he just hangs on, goes top to back, and just controls this whole tournament?
Well, look, we've got 4 shots above Justin Rose. Justin Rose is second in the leaderboard, 4 shots back. Justin Rose is a very seasoned player who has the ability to come back 4 shots. So I would definitely watch for him to be on his heels the whole day. So he's got to basically just block him out of his mind, play the game that he's been playing, and chances are he's going to come out with a victory. We also got Phil Mickelson is 5 shots back. He's always got right there too. I mean, you can never count him out. Charlie Hoffman is 6 shots back. I don't think he has what it takes to get up there. And then going back to 5th place, you've got Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy 10 shots back. I don't think they're in it. But I do like the fact that Tiger is tied for 5th, and he is kind of showing that he does have a little bit left. in the tank to get back there.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to watch him, especially being tied up with Rory right now. You know, Rory's that, even if you just look at Nike Golf right now, Rory's that next guy up, even just with Nike. So it's kind of fun to watch them be tied up, sitting back there 10 shots back. I think you're right. With Lefty sitting there in third, kind of creeping back 5 shots, Lefty's just got to play his game. And I think the fun thing about watching Mickelson play is, you know, going into Sunday, he's going to be a little bit reckless with his shots, and he's going to try to get creative. And maybe that pays off if Justin Rose and Jordan Spieth fall off a little bit. Maybe that pays off, or maybe just Mickelson does his Masters train wreck thing that he's been so good at the last couple of years.
So what do you think about Tiger and Rory being paired up on the last day? That's kind of an interesting twist for them.
Yeah, it's interesting from the outside, but we don't know the personal relationship those two have, and they keep telling everybody it's good. We're friends on and off the course. So it could go two ways. It could be really uncomfortable for Tiger to sit there and, you know, this is the kid that everybody wants to replace me at the top. It could be uncomfortable for McIlroy saying, you know, this is the guy whose shoes I have to fill. But at the same time, we don't know that relationship. Maybe they are friends, so, you know, maybe it's comfortable for Tiger to have Rory there and vice versa. Maybe they are really good friends, and it's a little bit easier to give each other a little bit of support on the course.
Well, and I think it would be a lot more interesting if they were less than 10 shots off of the lead, but 10 shots is a lot. They're probably not going to make it up there unless these guys have just really poor play on Sunday. So, you know, it'd be a lot more interesting if they were closer, but I think when it comes down to it, Spieth's just playing way too good, and he's going to make it all the way. So, speaking of all the way, I want to jump into the basketball playoff picture that we got going on here. You're a little bit more into basketball than I am, so I'm going to let you have the court, as it were, and take a little bit off of that.
Yeah, so as the season's wrapping up, we got a couple good races in both sides of the league right now. In the East, you got the Celtics and the Nets locked in, or not locked in, but you got the Celtics and the Nets in the last two positions, with the Pacers and the Heat trailing behind. You know, that's obviously the weaker conference in the league, especially if you're looking at the Celtics and the Nets being in there. In the West, that wouldn't get you the bottom two spots. They'd probably regulate you down to some Mexican basketball league. I mean, it's just not good play over on the East side on there. Atlanta's already locked the top seed, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that. All right, now Atlanta has been playing good all year. They're a high-paced team. They score a bunch of points. They play decent defense. But a lot of the experts, a lot of guys on TV and radio saying that type of basketball isn't sustainable. And I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on what was going on there.
I kind of have mixed feelings on Atlanta. I've been watching them play, you know, hearing about their attitude as far as the game is concerned. And I like what they're doing. But I also think that they're not going to be able to sustain that type of basketball. And I go back to the veteran aspect, as we were talking in the Masters. I think that they need a little bit more substantial team as far as a veteran leadership. And they just don't really have that. And so it's going to come down, you know, they're going to play okay in the playoffs, but I think that other teams are just going to overtake them because they have a little more experience and are a little more depth on their teams.
Yeah, I think when you look at the East, you know, the Hawks had a great regular season, but I think when it comes down to it, you're looking at the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Chicago Bulls probably running the Eastern Conference right now. It's been really fun. I watched the first couple of games. D Rose got back with the Bulls, and even though he's playing at 70, maybe 75% of the MVP Derrick Rose that we know, I think it's kind of fun to watch how the dynamic of the Bulls offense changes. I really, really, really love Joakim Noah and the way he plays basketball with Rose off the court or on it. He is the unquestioned leader and heart of the Chicago Bulls when Derrick Rose is out. And it's fun to watch how he plays team basketball when Rose is back. You'll see him setting picks the right way. He's all over the floor. He's covering up the paint. And lets Rose facilitate the ball like any good point guard in the league does on there. So that'll be fun to watch. On the flip side, you got the Cavs, who've got Kyrie Irving, who's had an outstanding year. I think LeBron James being in there, being able to play, we talked about this last week, LeBron being able to play 5 positions on the court if he absolutely had to.
Well, and he seems to be taking over pretty much as he can. He seems to be running the court. As far as if he wants to be in that game and he wants to be the one who's taking all of the shots, he just wants to be the leader of that team.
Yeah, and I think that's good for Kyrie because Kyrie, is on the stat sheet on the cards. He's going to come up as a point guard on there. But I think when LeBron is on his game and he wants to run that team and he's serious about the game, LeBron plays the point guard position better than anybody in the league right now, which is kind of scary because you guys got guys like Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook out there doing that same thing, and Kyrie plays a better 2 or 3 at this point. So it's kind of fun to watch how the Cavs handle that. It's interesting to see. I know Kevin Love has kind of a soap opera going on the side there, but I think that's a little bit overblown. The Cavs are a real fun team to watch, and I think LeBron running the floor and D Rose running the floor, that'll be an interesting matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals.
So, on the sustainability aspect of the basketball, do you think that the Cavaliers can sustain their play that they've been in, or do you think that they might peter out?
I actually think that has a lot to do with Kevin Love's attitude. When you look at the Cavaliers, I think watching LeBron play with this team, he's having a ton of fun. He loves Timofey Mozgov. I mean, he absolutely loves that guy. He loves J.R. Smith and the attitude he brings. J.R. Smith chucking up shots everywhere, and miss or make, J.R. Smith forgets that shot, and he's on to the next one on there. Imam Shumpert they got from the Knicks too, and I think that's been good for him. So I think LeBron's having a ton of fun playing with this team. And I think it's just a matter of if Kevin Love can accept his position on that team, and that will go a long way to deciding how LeBron has to lead this team into the playoffs.
So what do we think about the Western side?
Man, the Western side, I mean, there's a lot going on there right now. You have the Pelicans and the Thunder kind of tied up for that last place spot right now. So that'll be fun coming down the stretch. I absolutely love Anthony Davis down there in New Orleans, and it's fun to watch him play. But it's also fun to watch Russell Westbrook try to lead the Thunder into the playoffs without Kevin Durant.
It seems like we have an interesting situation with these guys because I believe they have the same exact record, but the Pelicans own the tiebreaker if they all win out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, basically you're looking at the Thunder having to run the table and the Pelicans kind of stumbling down there at the end. So it'll be fun to see what happens. The Pelicans have a really young team. And the Thunder aren't much older by any means, but the Thunder are a little bit more playoff seasoned team, the coaching staff, the players on the court. So it'll be fun to see how they run down the stretch, see if Westbrook can keep up his MVP caliber type year.
And that was going to be my next point was the Thunder have a potential MVP in Russell Westbrook, and the Pelicans don't really have much as far as really seasoned players. So what do you think is going to happen if the Pelicans do make it to the playoffs?
I think the Pelicans being in the playoffs is the best thing they can hope for right now. Even if they're a one and done team into the playoffs this year, I think that's a great stepping stone compared to the last few years down there in New Orleans. And you can look at that and say we're going the right way. They won't get a great draft pick this year, but I think with Anthony Davis there and some of the other players that are surrounding with him, I think you can look at maybe gaining a couple free agents next year that aren't going to be marquee guys. Anthony Davis is that marquee guy. You can bring in great role players, kind of similar to what LeBron has there going on with the Cavs. Great role players who do their part and can take action on there. For the Thunder, I think if they miss the playoffs, that's definitely a step back. But I think if you're ownership, if you're a fan of the Oklahoma City Thunder, you can look at that and say, hey, we didn't have our best players out there all the time together. And as much as the media likes to pick on Westbrook and say he takes shots away from Durant and it sometimes can be a ball hog and is a little bit reckless with the ball, a lot of turnovers. I think you can it's definitely a step back, but I think you can say that you didn't have your best foot forward.
Okay, well, there's a whole lot in there that I think you stated very well. But my next question also takes us to another interesting topic of you haven't even once mentioned the Warriors yet.
Man, I think the Warriors play speaks for itself. I mean, did you watch the game the other night? Steph Curry just went off.
Yeah, I noticed a tweet the next morning about Steph Curry's game, and we're going to get into that here in just a little bit. And I just wanted to throw that poke out there just for a little bit of a tease into our next segment. But I do have one more question on the basketball front that, frankly, I had a little bit of a problem with, and that was a game between the Spurs and the Rockets where Popovich had a style against James Harden, which was, oh yeah, don't let him play. Let's go ahead and foul their worst free throw shooter, and we'll do that the whole game and see how it turns out.
This was brought up earlier in the season with Popovich, and to be frank about it, I don't have a problem with it. Pops is just playing within the rules. He understands the game, and right now that's part of the game. If the NBA has a problem with it, they can go in, change the rules, fix it. But until then, Popovich is doing the right thing. He's putting his team in the best position to win with his star players sitting on the bench. I loved it.
Yeah, but I mean, it just makes for a really bad game. And yes, I know that if you're a coach, you just want to win, and that's the whole point. But man, it just seems a little dirty to me to come in and just foul their worst free throw shooter and make that your game plan and hope that it works and keep the best player off the court. It just doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, there's one way to fix that, and it's to learn how to shoot free throws. I mean, it's a basic part of the game. When I was playing basketball as a kid, we spent hours on that, learning how to shoot free throws, sitting at the line, shooting the ball over and over again. And these guys that get paid millions of dollars for this, they want to whine about it because it's part of the game. I just don't buy into it. I love what Pops did. To me, it's just part of the game. And the NBA can address it if they want to later.
All right. Well, I think that leads in perfectly into our next little debate that we have here, because Popovich was made a game plan around taking out the Rockets' best player in Harden, who I think still should get the MVP in the NBA.
I've been thinking about that a lot this week, and on Twitter I kind of threw a little bit of a jab at you, which was kind of fun. But I think you just should ask James Harden about who should win MVP, and he was on a radio show this week that me and you love very much, and when asked the question, if you can't vote for yourself, who are you voting for? He said Steph Curry. He's the best player on the best team. And it sounded like a guy I truly respect and admire his opinion, and that would be me. Because those were my exact words on the situation.
No, I know, and I was a little bummed out when I heard that interview on the radio, but Yes, Steph Curry is playing out of his mind, and the other night when he played and he just went crazy on the court, I thought, man, maybe this guy does deserve the MVP. But the fact that everyone is so scared of Harden just seems to me like he's got to be right there up in the vote.
To say Popovich and the Spurs were afraid of James Harden and the Rockets is a little bit ridiculous. I think Pops is looking after his team going into the playoffs. He still wants that momentum. He still wants to win the game, but he needs to sit those old guys down a little bit. And I think building a game plan along the lines of a rule that the NBA lets continue, I don't know what's dirty about that. I think it was a pretty solid game plan.
Well, what do you think about the other two guys, Westbrook and LeBron? Do you think that they have any chance in the vote for the MVP, or do you think they're pretty much out of it?
Well, with LeBron, I think if the Cavs were playing the way they are right now, earlier in the season, I think he'd be up there in the discussion for sure. I don't think you can look at him and the way the Cavs have performed and say he's not a legitimate shot for the MVP, but I think the beginning of the season kind of wrecked that a little bit. The other thing I think doesn't help, fair or unfair, is the expectation going into the season. Everybody saw him, Kyrie, and Kevin Love there at the beginning of the season, and they just expected greatness out of that. Same way it was when he was down in Miami, and I didn't like him going down there, and I rooted against him down there in Miami. But it takes time to build that chemistry with your teammates to know what they like on the floor, where they like their shots at, especially if you're a guy like LeBron who enjoys facilitating the game more than he does scoring.
And as far as it goes, Russell Westbrook playing for the Thunder, who may or may not make it into the playoffs. If they don't make it into the playoffs, he's definitely not going to get the vote. I don't think he has a chance to make the vote as it is, but I'm a little bummed out about that because he has been playing his heart out, and he's been carrying a team that's had a lot of injuries and not been playing to the expectations of the Thunder over the last couple of years. So I'm just a little bit bummed that he's not going to be in that talk too much.
Yeah, I agree. It's been really cool to watch Westbrook play without Durant and kind of see what he can do. That being said, I kind of look at Westbrook in Oklahoma City as trying to be too much of a Steph Curry in Golden State. And it's fun to watch Curry out there shooting the ball wherever he wants to, but Curry also has the option of passing the ball to players who can make a difference too. And I don't think Westbrook has that option, which is why I'm just a little bit as bummed out as you. I think when you look at MVP, Westbrook is the only thing that keeps that team running, especially a team without Kevin Durant, who's the face of the franchise and who's the heart and soul. You know, they kind of follow him. Even when Durant's on the court, you see Westbrook's mentality change a little bit on there. So, yeah, I'm a little bit bummed out, too. He won't be considered as much as some of the other
guys. So, I think in the final lap for MVP, we're going to see a little bit of James Harden, a little bit of Steph Curry. And if you want me to ever vote for Steph Curry, he's going to have to grow a beard that's half as decent as James Harden's. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, beard or not, with just a couple games left to go, I think the MVP vote is probably locked up. It'll be fun to see who comes out on top. You know, as much as I love basketball, and I really do, I think a more important discussion we need to get into is the MVP of pizza. And you know, we have four, kind of like the sandwich bracket. We have four guys there, kind of like the MVP race right now. We got cheese, pepperoni, sausage, and ham up there. Now we're talking single topping pizzas.
Are we really talking about an MVP of pizza right now?
Yeah, an MVP pizza. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, single topping pizzas are what matter here. Who's got your vote for the MVP pizza?
Well, I'm going to have to go pepperoni all the way. I'm a pretty classic guy. Pepperoni pretty much kills it. Pepperoni may be the Steph Curry of the NBA world, and it pains me to say that, but pepperoni's going to take it every time.
Yeah, and my initial thought, my heart is with pepperoni on there. I think you're absolutely right. When you're ordering your pizza with friends, and you got a picky guy like me out there who's not going to eat the veggies on the pizza, doesn't want the pineapple. I think pepperoni's your go-to pizza on there. But as kind of a dark horse candidate, I'm going with ham. And I know ham is literally a ham, and he's just kind of there showboating. But I think ham has a lot to offer that pepperoni doesn't.
Yeah, but ham on a pizza, I'll take a ham on a nice holiday dinner, but I don't want it anywhere near my pizza. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and I could see you wanting sausage as a second place vote. You're just a sausage kind of guy. I don't know who's gonna vote for cheese. It's pretty plain, pretty boring. I don't know what kind of stomach a guy has that will eat a cheese pizza.
Well, yeah, what do you get with cheese? You get cheese. There's nothing special there. There's nothing it's like, oh, I'm eating a cheese pizza. Who cares? Why would you order a cheese pizza? At least if you're going to do anything, put some ham on it. No, pepperoni, sausage second. I think pepperoni's going to take it no matter what.
Yeah, I think this is probably one MVP debate we can actually agree on this year, and probably years going forward. We purposely left bacon. I don't know how many guys order just bacon as a topping on a pizza, so we kind of left that one out on there. I think pepperoni is probably the go-to pizza.
I would probably eat my pepperoni pizza with a beard if that was ordered that way. I'm just saying that.
Yeah. If you guys have any feedback for us, leave it down in the comment section or tweet us, Sporting Banjos.
Or at Front Range Cowboys on Twitter. We have the sandwich bracket going on. We've got the MVP pizza. Just a little bit of fun for you guys, so we'd like to hear what you have to say.
All right, guys. We'd love to hear your feedback on the MVP pizza debate. Right now we're going to go into our Homer segment. And we got a lot to talk about with the home teams right now. So, Chris, let's figure out where we're going to start.
Well, of course, being from Denver, we follow all the Colorado teams, most of which right now is the Rockies. Not a whole lot going on with the Nuggets and the Avalanche. They're kind of out of their seasons now. So, starting off with the Rockies, I'm really impressed. They came in with a 4-0 start to the season. Had a great run out in Milwaukee. Just showed dominance with the bats. The pitching was pretty good. Now, we're not going to say it was the best pitching that we've had, but, it was really good. They came back home on Friday for the season home opener against the Cubs. They ended up winning 5-1. Tyler Matzik had a really, it wasn't that great of a showing, but he fought through the adversity and came out. Didn't get the win, but we managed to get there. So not a bad opening for the Rockies, and hopefully we can see them continue. We did have a couple home runs at Coors Field. Justin Morneau got his 1500th hit, and it was a home run. So congratulations to him. Nolan Arenado did hit a home run for us tonight against the Cubs. We don't really know the score of that one yet. But one thing I did want to talk about in this segment is one thing that we've been kind of hearing over the last couple weeks with the Rockies, specifically the last couple days, because they did start 4-0 and they did have a good run. There's a whole big talk about the Kool-Aid, about how all the Rockies fans, they need to start drinking the Kool-Aid. They need to, get into the game and cheer on the Rockies. And I kind of agree with that, but I also have a problem. And my problem is a lot of people have been calling in and saying, well, every year the Rockies, they always start off really good for the first month and then they fall off the table. And usually by the 4th of July, they're already out of the playoff race, mathematically eliminated. And it's kind of bumming me out. I really think that people need to either jump on or jump off. If you're going to be a Rockies fan, be a Rockies fan. If you're not going to be a Rockies fan, don't be a Rockies fan for the first month and then be bummed out. And if you got people who aren't drinking the Kool-Aid, then what chance do the Rockies have? if you're going to have people be cheerful and really enjoy what the Rockies are doing, then they need to feed that energy into the Rockies. But you got all these people being downers, and it's just bringing a negative attitude to the whole game. And I really think that these people need to just kind of, shut their mouth, quit talking. If you don't like the Rockies, you don't need to watch them, and don't speak about them, because nobody cares what you have to think.
We have a final score on that game too. The Rockies lost 9-5 tonight. So, pretty great start. 4-0. It was really, really fun to watch them have good enough pitching out there in Milwaukee to win a game, get the hot bats going, which is what they're really known for, is their hot bats. But to have the pitching back them up on that is really fun. I'm going to stick up for the guys that are the downers right now. I'm a Rockies fan too. I love the Rockies, and you're more of a baseball guy than I am, but I love the Rockies. It's not easy to root for them, though. Your ownership does not care. They're there to own a baseball franchise. They don't put any money into it. There's not a whole lot of thought that goes into it. I think last year, the whole debacle with all the letters going out from ownership to fans, telling them, well, you don't need to come to the games and this and that and the other, calling them an alcoholic. Really. I'm going to stick up for that guy, because it's really fun to go to Coors Field, to be excited about the Rockies for the first month and a half of the year. It's not so fun to be a Rockies fan the rest of the season, though. And that kind of bums me out. That's what bums me out. And I understand you want guys to drink the Kool-Aid and all that stuff, but give us a good flavor of Kool-Aid to drink. Because right now you're throwing Kool-Aid in there without a whole lot of sugar.
Well, and I agree. It is a bummer to watch the team struggle halfway through the season every year. But my problem is you've got these people coming on the radio, coming on, saying, hey, we've got one good month of baseball, and then it goes, south, and they're all the blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Those are the same people, and I guarantee it, who, if the Rockies were to make the playoffs this year, would be on the radio in October saying, I knew it, I told you so, I've been a Rockies fan the whole season. And that's what drives me crazy, because I am a Rockies fan all season. I like the Rockies, no matter if they're playing good or if they're playing bad. And yeah, it's tough, but you know what? If you're going to do it, go 100%. Don't just be that guy who's going to jump on the bandwagon at the end of the season.
I think it's not about being on the bandwagon. It's about being frustrated with the history of the team. Since 2007, we haven't fielded a good team that's been deep into the playoffs. That's been worth talking about. And it gets old being, you're deeply passionate about the Rockies, and it's fun to be deeply passionate about the Rockies for a month and a half, 2 months, but they don't give you any reason to love them after that. It's all downhill after that, and frankly, the guys that are complaining, I understand what you're saying, at the beginning of the season. Yeah, enjoy the first month while you can. I don't like that either. That kind of pisses me off too. If you're a Rockies fan, have hope for the season. We were talking earlier about opening day being that fresh new hope, a fresh start, a new beginning for just about everything. You can draw that line on there, but until the organization gives us a reason to believe, it's hard to buy into what they're doing.
Well, in 2007, nobody really gave them any hope either. And there's a little bit of different look to that team, because they made such an incredible run to get to where they were. They had to win on 21 out of 22 games or something crazy like that. And so many people, you and I both, had the same reaction of everybody was on the Rocktober kick that year. And it drove us both crazy, because, all of those people didn't care about the Rockies until they got to the playoffs. And you know what? It just drives me crazy. I know it's kind of a rant, but one of those things that I just have to get off my chest, because I kind of feel like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid and not a whole lot of other people are.
What do you think of Walt Weiss's little new formula to winning this season? The kind of lineup changes and that type of thing, what's going on. If I'm going to buy into a little bit of hope and a little bit of change in the Rockies this year, That would be it. Is that ownership and the general manager have kind of stepped off Walt Weiss and kind of let him do his thing with the team that he has.
I like that Walt Weiss was a Rocky one, so he kind of knows how the team functions, and he does. He seems like he's got a good enough head on his shoulders to make something happen with them. Unfortunately, you've got the Tulo debate, you've got the Cargo debate, you've got all these different things that, are they going to stay healthy? Is this going to happen? The biggest thing I'm seeing is the pitching. We don't know what the pitching's going to be like. It has potential, but right off the bat, De La Rosa's hurt. You've got an unclear fourth and fifth starter. Matzik, like I said, he was having a little trouble on the mound. I like the way that he's got things set up, and I like that he's not afraid to move the lineup around. And if you got a left-handed pitcher in, he's bringing in Drew Stubbs instead of Charlie Blackmon. And he's just not afraid to flip that lineup around, and it seems like he's doing what he can and what he thinks is best so that this team could actually have a good season.
Yeah, I like the fact that you brought up Weiss was at one time a Rockies player, so he understands the pain of being a player at Coors Field. He understands the problem with pitching and the dynamics of having hot bats there. So it's kind of fun to watch him flip that lineup around. I think when they're at home, they're a pretty good team. I think what Weiss is trying to do is figure out what to do on the road.
Also, I think that it's really nice that we have Nick Hundley this year. It seems like he's definitely been a good asset that we acquired. Rolin Rosario is a good catcher, but I just think they needed that different experience from their catcher. Somebody who is going to have a little more insight into the game, maybe going to call a little more veteran game, and it's good to have Rosario off the bench. He did hit a pinch hit go ahead home run, and that gave the Rockies a win. So they're doing a few things that are just making this a little bit better for us as viewers.
Yeah, listening to some of the Rockies pitching staff talk about Hundley coming in and the tape he had watched when the Rockies brought him in before he even got to meet the rest of the team. They were really impressed with that, and he was talking to them immediately about how he would call a little bit of a different game for him. And that's really fun and exciting to watch. I was going to bring up Baby Bull hitting that pinch hit home run. That was kind of fun to watch. So it'll be interesting to see what Weiss does with this lineup going into the season.
The other thing that I have to say is that for a team that has as many Gold Gloves on their infield that they do, and such a talented group of guys, I just don't know how you couldn't have a little bit of hope in this team. You've got Arenado Gold Glove, you got Tulowitzki Gold Glove, Morneau Gold Glove, and DJ LeMahieu Gold Glove. All of these guys are surrounding your infield, and you've got some very solid outfielders, Cargo being one of them, another Gold Glove guy. So when it comes down to it, this team has everything they need to win, far from a little bit of help in the pitching department, but their bullpen has been really good. I don't know if you saw Adam Ottavino pitching this week, but that dude, his stuff was intense, man. Those sliders he was throwing, I couldn't believe the action that he was getting on those pitches, and the batters that he was facing, I don't think they could believe it either, because they were just standing there watching it. So if that bullpen can stay strong, maybe those pitchers get a little bit better, De La Rosa comes back, I don't think there's any reason why this team couldn't go to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, but I think you're arguing against history, though. I think the Rockies have shown year after year after year that even with those players, and you hit all of them, all the guys I would have mentioned as being guys that would give you hope. I think they've shown a history of not being able to manage the team well enough to give those guys a shot. Tulo and Cargo are part of the problem and are part of the hope. I think that hurts Rocky fans too. To have two guys on that, to have on that roster that are out so much is hard to swallow sometimes.
So what do you think if those two guys stay healthy all season long? What do you think?
if those guys can stay healthy all year long, I think that changes the attitude of fans at the minimum. And I think what you're talking about with guys already counting the Rockies out for the season, I think having a healthy Tulo, a healthy Cargo for a full season, playoffs or not, I think that's a good step in the right direction for fans. And being one of the smaller markets in baseball, I know there's a lot of real small markets in baseball, but we're definitely not big here. I think ownership has to listen to the fans a little bit, even though they don't want to. And I think having that turnaround would be good for the organization to hear.
Well, and look, you know what? I'm not going to stand here and say that the Rockies are going to go to the World Series again this year, because guess what? It is hard to argue against history. But with that being said, I would just like to get a little more consistency on people's opinions and say, hey, if you're going to hate the Rockies, but don't do it just because they're having a bad season halfway through. Hate the Rockies because you hate the Rockies, and just get over it.
Yeah, and if you guys out there have an opinion on the matter, hit us up at Sporting Banjos, at FR Cowboys, and tell us what you think about the Rockies going forward. I think it'd be a real interesting season to see if Chris pulls through and if he's right on this.
So jumping into the next segment, in the Homer segment that we have here, I wanted to give you the floor so you could talk a little bit about the Denver Broncos. Aqib Talib was arrested and let go down in Texas. He had some problems in a nightclub, and I'll let you run with that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see a guy that they brought in for veteran leadership kind of fall into that off-season mentality of not caring, not looking out for the team on there. I think the best pros in the league probably think team mentality throughout the whole year on there. So it's kind of sad to watch him be another roadblock to the Broncos winning a Super Bowl. You know, when Peyton came in here, and we should probably just put this out there, we follow the Broncos, but neither one of us are die-hard fans. We have other teams we root for in the NFL on there. But it was really exciting when Peyton came to town, and we kind of thought, hey, the Broncos could win a couple Super Bowl titles in there. And to see him struggle, and this is, Peyton probably has 2 years left here in Denver, and to watch a guy like Aqib Talib be another roadblock to a championship contending team is difficult to deal with on there. But it all goes back. You're not going to stop watching the team play. You're not going to stop watching football just because a guy gets in trouble. So it's just kind of one of those, another one of those distractions. I'm sure Peyton's probably not happy about it. Peyton a few weeks ago was at his little Duke University quarterback receiver class, I guess you would call it, seminar, whatever, at there. And to see a guy like Aqib Talib, who they brought in to be a positive presence, to be a veteran, get into that kind of trouble on the offseason is just kind of another shot to the Broncos' championship hopes.
Well, to jump on my soapbox just a little bit, I just wanted to add in there, it really bums me out, the fact that a lot of these NFL players, no matter if they're veterans or if they're rookies, they have something that most people can only dream of. They have an NFL career or an NBA career or, a sports career in which people dream of from the time they were kids. So they have money, they have glory, and they have fame. Why can't these people not get in fights at nightclubs at 4 a.m.? Why can't they not, get arrested for having drugs or having guns or, in the case of Aaron Hernandez, even in a murder trial? I mean, it just seems so ridiculous to the average person that you should, if you have all those things, you should fight and you should be above everybody so that you can keep having those things and not lose them.
Yeah, I think a problem with sports at a young age right now, high school, going into college, is you're told you're the best all the time because you're in such a smaller pool. You know, a guy like Talib was probably one of the best cornerbacks or safeties in his state on there. So that mentality, being told you're the best all the time, that'll get to anybody really. So I straddle the fence on both sides of that. It's really sad that these people that these guys that have all this money and the power and everything you're talking about don't have the support system to keep them in check. You know, I always thought, you know, when I look at it in a personal level, and I never had a shot at doing any sport at a high level, but when you go back and think about it and you put yourself in that position, I'd like to think I had the right mom and dad to keep me in check, the right brother to keep me in check. I had you to keep me in check. You know, I had the right people around me to, hey man, you know, we're doing good right now. Let's keep it level and maintain what we have.
Which is kind of funny because it's actually Aqib Talib's brother who he keeps getting into trouble with down there. Happened, you know, before. This is not the first time that he's had trouble with his brother. But it seems like if you're Aqib Talib, I would not want to disappoint Peyton Manning. I would not want to disappoint my fellow players. And it just seems crazy, like I said, that these players don't have the support structure to keep them out of trouble, to keep them from being in nightclubs at 4 a.m. I know it's the off season, but maybe they should pay somebody to say, hey man, you're making a bad decision. Let's get out of here.
I think, you know, to tie into that, to paying people to keep you in check, I don't know if that's the way to go. You look at a guy like Josh Hamilton, who has a guy that he pays to keep him off drugs. And apparently from this offseason, we've learned that the second that guy goes to bed, there's another guy that goes out and buys you drugs. So paying people only goes so far. You said it too. Having a support system of people that you actually trust, that actually love you and want to see the best out of you, I think that's more important than anything. And I think that these guys are coming out of high school, coming out of college, so pumped up, told they're the best, that it gets in the way of things. You know, the other thing that bothers me is it's your profession, right? If you're Aqib Talib, you're a professional football player for the Denver Broncos, and you know your team has a finite time to win a championship, and your ultimate goal as a player is to win a Super Bowl title. And it just bugs me, like it does you, that he'd let the team down in that kind of way.
Well, and it's kind of widespread. I mean, we just had Le'Veon Bell and LeGarrette Blount. They got suspended for a couple games for having drugs. I think they were smoking weed. You got the Clippers guy who got stabbed in the gut up there in a nightclub. I mean, what's going on, man? You know, what's going on with these people?
It's hard to say, you know, and it's easy sitting on this side of it, right? You're thinking I'd make millions and I'd take care of it and everything, but at the same time you're a young guy and you have an inflated ego. It's easy to get a little bit carried away on there. It's just troubling that these guys don't look at the positive aspects of what they're doing. And realize the impact they have on other people. Not necessarily guys like me and you, but I mean, and I know this is an argument that some people hate, but think of the kids. I mean, you're a role model, you're an idol. You know, that 6, 7, 8-year-old kid that wants your jersey. You know, wouldn't you want to live up to that a little bit?
Well, yeah. I mean, look at Michael Vick back, just 10 years ago. Michael Vick was a stud coming out. You know, he was such a great, he's the new face. He's the option quarterback. He's that guy. And then he gets into all this, dog fighting and goes to jail and does all this. And now he's kind of a joke in the NFL. It just seems to me that if I had the career that these people have, I would protect it with everything I had. and keep being that role model. And clearly it can be done because 90% of these people do it right and don't have any problems. It's just that 10% that really, aggravates me.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up too. Is 90% of those guys, maybe even a little bit higher than that, 90% of those guys are doing the right thing. You got a guy like Peyton Manning, he Indianapolis and Denver, he set up multiple charities. He's given out tons of money to these organizations that need help on there. And there's a lot of guys throughout all these professional leagues that do the same thing. So I'm glad you brought that up, and that shouldn't be forgotten on there. And it's the one or two bad apples that kind of ruin the bunch, right? And the other thing is, it's easy to say that you wouldn't have the same problems that they do. It really is, but it's still not an excuse. There's a right way to do things, and I don't think there's any question as to what those things are. So getting into trouble and all that stuff, I just don't see how that happens.
So, just to end up my thoughts on the statement, I think the NFL should, they should make their punishments more strict for these kind of things. And maybe, hopefully, that'll get some of these guys to think about it twice. It's just a little bit of a touchy issue for me. I have a problem with them doing that just because it seems like they've got what a lot of people would like to have in a career in the NFL, in the NBA. I think they should protect it.
Yeah, no, and I, again, I see both point of views about that. To be a professional athlete, you should be focusing on that. I know me and you run into that kind of stuff day to day in our profession. There's stuff that we could do that would jeopardize our careers, and we make a conscious effort not to do those things, not to get into trouble, not to risk what we have for something stupid in the moment.
So, switching from that topic, let's lighten things up a little bit. I just thought I'd ask you a little bit about Wes Welker actually went and worked out with the Dolphins. What do you think about losing that guy?
I think Wes Welker would be great in the Dolphins. He'd be that dolphin that's caught in the fishnet, that can't get out. He's just kind of out there floundering around. I mean, Wes Welker's had a great career. Nobody can deny him of that, but you have to know when to hang it up, and I think it's time for him to probably give it a rest. He's had two of the great quarterbacks within the last 10, 15 years throwing the ball at him. I think concussions, the NFL is going to have to deal with that down the road even a little bit more. But I think as a personal, statement or a personal feeling, why wouldn't you hang it up? I mean, you've had a lot going on.
Well, you're already in it. I mean, you might as well just keep going. He's already had a ton of concussions, but he really wants that Super Bowl ring. Now, with that being said, Ryan Tannehill and the Dolphins is not the way he's going to get that Super Bowl ring. I think I would actually like to see him stay with the Broncos and maybe at least have that one shot to get a ring.
Yeah, I agree with you. It'd be fun to see Wes Welker get that ring on there. And you're right, the Dolphins isn't that place. It's a good up-and-coming team, but in all reality, are you ever going to get past New England in that division?
Well, if you're Miami, you beat them at least once every year, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's you're not going to get over New England the way the seniority, the way they play on the road, Tom Brady. You're not going to get over that kind of hump on there. So I like to see him stay here in Denver on there, but I just don't know how much he can contribute anymore.
Well, with that being said, I am going to throw out a little bit of a shout out to the Avalanche. We didn't really get a chance to really talk about them. They did make a pretty good run for the end of the season. They didn't make it into the playoffs. Their season is over, but we definitely like the Avalanche here in Colorado, and we want to see them go back to the Stanley Cup championship. So we'll continue rooting for them, but enjoy the off season, and hopefully next year will be a little better. Also, I would like to point out that the Rockies are in first place in the National League West as we speak. I know that's not saying a lot, but hey, that's my hope right there. Is we're first in the NL West right now.
Hey man, as much as you hate the Cardinals, that's how much I hate the San Francisco Giants. So to see the old purple and black up there on the top, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Well, I do. I cannot stand the Cardinals, but you know what I think I actually hate more than the Cardinals? Well, maybe let's not go there, but I'm really happy that the Giants got rid of Pablo Sandoval. I'm glad he's in a completely different division now. And I do respect the pitching of the Giants, but I don't think they're going to be as good as they have been this year. Their pitching is kind of hurt a little bit. But I'm glad to hear that you dislike the Giants because I don't really like them either. But still, they don't hold a candle to the St. Louis Cardinals.
No, Cardinals fans are the worst. They're kind of the Patriot fans of Major League Baseball. All this stuff about history and tradition and this and that and the other. Well, you had a big lag in there, so get over it. We'll see what's coming in the next couple of years.
Well, that's going to close up our podcast for this week. We would like to give a shout out to DInfinityX, and that's at DInfinityX on Twitter. Under Fused Fiction on YouTube. He's been helping us out, putting up the videos on YouTube and helping us set everything up. Once again, I'm Chris, and I'm at FR Cowboys on Twitter.
And I'm Josh. I'm at Sporting Banjos on Twitter, and we love you, John.
Hey, and we'd really like to hear your guys' comments once again. So anything you have to say, anything you want to hear, anything we can do to get a little better, we appreciate it.
Bye, guys.